Hey everybody. So last time I basically started the lift and shift of the code over from the just pure HTML or the pure vanilla JavaScript into this into Angular 17, and that went really well. I said I was going to do two things. I had intended to do two things, and one was I was going to kind of show these in a vertical layout and then keep track of how often a color is called. And um, and I basically had done that as a kind of a proof of concept working on in the vanilla JavaScript. So I was just going to redo that here. I decide, and then the other thing I was going to do is make it handle two words. So like that actually I have working. It was like ghost white, and see, ghost white is two words, and that normally wouldn't work at all, but it does. Dodger blue. And so, Dodger blue is two words and then it combines it into one. Before I demonstrated that did not work. But as instead of but I did do something that I didn't say I was going to do. And just because as I was working on it, I realized, man, I'm just going to end up making like more work for myself down the road if I don't take care of it now. But basically, I wanted to pull the all the um, interacting with the API out of the component and put it into a service. So I created a service, and here it is. And in this service, we have a constructor, and I don't know why this signal isn't here, but oh, it's because I was trying to do some strong typing and I got it wrong. But basically, I pulled the component, or I pulled all of the WebKit stuff, the speech recognition out of the component and put it into the service. And then in the service, um, I have created a signal called voice result. I do not think this is the um, proper way to do this, and I think it's not proper because um, I believe like the component could also uh, publish. Normally, oh, I did not hit start. So normally, there's a different kind of signal, a computed signal that you can do that would, and you could make this private, and then you could publish from a computed signal. I do that in my other series that I'm doing that's about 3JS, but and Angular. But anyways, so in the constructor, this should look very familiar. Basically, it checks to see which one of the recognitions exist, and then I added this record method, which is basically checks to make sure that there was a recognition that was created. That this is going to happen when the sub when the um, what is this thing called? When the service is created. Anyways, one thing I did do was I created the service. I created in the scripts. I added the service, and then I ran this command down here. And I do it that way just so I can be sure that I use the correct version of the CLI and everything when I build this stuff. So, when I do this, because like back in the day, I used to always like have different versions of, like I would have a globally installed, like every tutorial tells you to add the CLI globally, and then you end up uh, having basically if you have multiple projects and they're not all on the same CLI, you can have conflicts, very weird errors. So, anyways, so that's why I always run them inside of the scripts tag so that everything is all tidy and everything's as expected. Um, but so I have this record. So this whole thing got created. This whole service got created, and I have this record function. And basically, whenever it gets a result, it emits it. Um, so last time I had made the observation that like, see, everything that happens inside this on result is not is outside of Angular. So then what happens is it won't update. Uh, and the only way you can get it to update is to call this function, change detector ref, detect changes. And I don't really know exactly how all that works, but I suspect what it does is it says, "Hey, something somewhere has changed. Go figure it out." I would imagine that's what this is uh, telling Angular, or and it ends up telling So then it has to check everything. Um, so what we've done instead is we've created what I've done instead is created this voice result signal, and then inside of the component, inside this constructor, I have this thing that says, "Hey, if voice result changes and it doesn't happen to be an empty string, then go ahead and call voice result, this set result, and whatever, call set result, and give it whatever voice result has in there." So in a way, we kind of bridge the gap, right? So yes, this does happen. This on result happens outside of Angular, but then we bring it back into Angular by calling the set thing. And so now we no longer need, and that's so much more efficient, I believe, because like I said, this is just sort of a, hey, go figure out what changed wherever. This is like, hey, this specific thing changed, and go change and make changes, and these are the changes I want you to make when this specific thing changes. And it's, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know what this effect, like like a lot of code I can look at and say, "Oh, okay, I can imagine what it's trying to do behind the scenes." So like, you know, this click record, I can imagine that somewhere in some JavaScript somewhere it's got a document, it's creating sort of a query on this hello thing, and setting it up, the event handler and everything for that. And it does, and if I've decided to use 5 of the same um, component, it keeps track of all that for me. Um, but like, this is a complete mystery. What they're doing to make that happen. I'm glad they're doing it because it's super easy to understand, but I don't know. But anyway, so this effect calls set result. So this magically listens for publishes from in the service from this. That's all that does. So it's a pub sub, and over here I'm publishing a change. And so in the app component, whenever the record is called, which it gets called every time this happens, every time you click on this thistle, every time you click on this record fires off. Then we go into the speech service. This gets called if the recognition exists, and then it publishes the result, which is then listened to over here in this effect. It's not like trivial, but it is a lot easier than like the RxJS way of doing it. Now, if you've invested a lot of time in learning RxJS and all that, then of course, RxJS makes a lot of sense to you. But if you haven't gone down that road yet, this is very, I think this is easier to understand. And that's why I think, like, when it comes to like I've been doing a lot of interviews lately, and I don't know why interviews just picked up for me like last week. I started getting a lot more calls and interviews, but I've been doing a lot of interviews, and they all are very curious, and they all want to know about RxJS and all that. And it's just kind of like, wow, yeah, I haven't really looked at RxJS in like 5 months because I've been playing around with these signals, and I do think RxJS is probably, other than in making calls for like hitting RESTful endpoints and all that, it's probably on its way out. Um, and the RESTful endpoints is pretty straightforward, and it makes a lot of sense. But anyways, yeah, I think this works great. So in the next video, I'll create a dictionary and keep track and put these vertically, and sort of keep track of the number of times a color has been called, and sort of increment a counter. And then maybe, depending on how long it takes to code, I might add the ability to like like maybe whenever, like, let's say I say Dodger Blue, but Dodger Blue isn't in this list, I could maybe it'll pop. Maybe I'll do like a little pop up or something that says, "I don't know that color. Did it work? If so, would you like to add it, or would you like to add this color to the list?" And then if they say, and then click have the record happen again, and then if they say yes, uh, then it gets added to the list. I think that would be really cool. Um, but I guess the next thing for sure is to get the counting happening. And that's about it. I think this is coming along really well. I think it's a fun little project the way it is right now, and I think we're very close to sort of having enough done to then I will go on to try to build my little my tracker that I want to build that lets me kind of keep track of my tips and cash payouts and stuff like that through the evening so that I can have a better idea. Like I'll be using my phone and I'll just like, while I'm driving, say, whether it was a cash or not, and then what the tip was. And at the end of the night, I'll be able to have some idea of how much I should be getting back from the company. I don't know if you watched the previous video, but in a previous video, I was talking about like how when I go out and I do like pizza deliveries, what happens is you go and literally 95% are on credit cards, and 95% of those the tip is already like pre-allocated. The person has already selected a tip, and then you take all your runs, and then at the end of the night you do like this little cash out thing, and it is like they kind of just throw all the data at you at once, so you're sort of, I don't know, as a sort of a, here, let me pause this, as sort of a like a Gen Xer type, because I'm born in Generation X. um, I never trust technology, so I always want to have my own accounting of everything. And so for me, it would help me because I would have some, like I could tell, oh wait, no, that's off by $10 or something, and figure out that no, there was something went wrong in the system, and I would have a list of all the orders I took on my phone, and I would have. See, the thing is like if you get a cash one, then you have to pay that back at the end of the night. But if you get but then your tips you get to keep, but then most of the tips are in the credit card, so they give you that tip. So trying to do all those calculations in real time is very, very difficult. So this would be a really good way for me to keep track of that kind of thing. So that's what I'm trying to get to, and I feel like the proof of concept is there. I think it'll be nice because so this is on Windows and my phone is on Android, and who knows if there's some sort of difference in the API between those two. But yeah, this is coming along great. I love it. I love it so much. Crimson. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.